Hello guys, and welcome to the Budget Project. So I want to give some background on the Budget Project and just kind of walk through some things with you so that way you have an idea of what I'm looking for. So you don't necessarily have to be filling this out. If you can print this out, that'd be great, and then fill it in as you go. But ultimately, you want to be keeping track somehow of all of the decisions you're making. I want you to simulate as best as possible, and there's no way for me to check on this, but I want you to simulate as best as possible. What would you do with the money? What would you do if this were your life? So you can make it as realistic or not as possible. So if you just say like, you know what, I'm just gonna leave zero in for something, fine. I can't really, and especially now with the e-learning, stop you from that. But you can make this as realistic as you want. So what I want to do is just kind of simulate what it's going to be like to live as an adult with a budget, and you can make it as realistic or not realistic as you want. The first step is just kind of picking a career. That doesn't mean that you are going to actually have this career for the project or anything like that. But just if you've never taken a career test, this would be a good idea for you to do, just so that you can kind of see how it works. For the project, I'm going to give you $38,000 for a starting salary, which is way more than I made my first year out of college, which I think was about $18,000 or $19,000. But that should give you enough money to pay the basic parts off, but not give you so much money to start with that, you can build, you won't have to face opportunity costs because so you're going to have to make some choices because you're going to have that limited budget. So the first thing you're going to do is click on that link that's there, and that'll bring you to a site to kind of see how much money you're going to have to pay Uncle Sam in taxes. So as you go through this first part, go to this website, type in 38,000, leave everything else the same to see how much money it's going to cost you in income tax. Then you're going to take your $38,000, subtract from it your income tax that the website kicks out for you. That's going to be your net income. You're going to take that net income and divide by 12 so that way you have your net monthly income, and that's how much money you're going to have for the purpose of the project. So again, it'll force you to make choices. You might end up with more money, but if you can budget for $38,000, you can budget for $60,000, if that's what your first job is, or $50,000 or $45,000. So this is going to force you to make some decisions throughout the process. So as you go through, the first step is going to be college. If you're going to college, if you know where you're going, you can just put in that college. If you're still making the decision, you can, again, make this as realistic or not realistic as possible, or as you want. If you don't plan to go to college, you can that you're not going to have a tuition for, whether it's a 2-year, a 4-year, a trade school, you don't have tuition to deal with, then that's fine. You can just skip this and put a 0. If you are going to college, then what you want to do is kind of put your college. This website gives it really simply how much. And again, if you know how much scholarship money or aid money you're getting, you can enter that in as well. College name, tuition, or the college total cost, which is tuition plus room and board. So you want to make sure that it's both for the total cost. Do you have any money? Do your parents have any money? Are you getting any financial aid, college scholarships? Do you have any savings? The rest you're going to have to borrow. So you're going to put it into this website, that money. You're going to look at both 10 and 15-year programs with an interest rate of 5%. So you may have to change that interest rate when you log on. So you're going to fill in then how much that's going to cost you and which one you're going to pick. Are you going to pick a 10 or 15-year option? And that monthly payment is what you're going to add in eventually to your budgeting sheet as you go through. So then once you've graduated, you're going to have to find a place to live. You can go anywhere in the United States you want. I'm just going to, again, I won't be able to really check that. But just try to keep it within the United States because that's where we're just going to go with for this project at least. So you're going to want to figure out how much you can afford. So you're going to take about 30% of your total monthly income, and that's how much you're going to spend on housing. For the purpose of the project, you can't live at home. For the purpose of the project, you can't have a roommate, just so that you can see how much the apartments are going to cost. So I want you to look at 2 apartments. They're going to have different qualities. Some will have, in-room washers and dryers. Some will have, although very rarely, usually a dishwasher. It might have a community pool. It might have a weight room. It may have, be near the lake. It may be near the ocean, depending on where you decide to live. So just kind of think of some best qualities as you go through and pick a spot to live. And as reference, when you look at the size, that my classroom, if you can remember the size of it, is 675 square feet. And then the other thing I want to make note of is it says up here, a studio apartment is one big room with a separate bathroom. A one-bedroom apartment has a wall that separates the bedroom from everywhere else. So that's the difference if you're like, what's a studio? So total cost for the apartment, you're going to have to furnish it with things. So I put $70 a month just to kind of help you save up for some things. Transportation, then, you can either buy new or used. CarMax is a good site to figure out the used car. If you want to buy new, that's fine. Just go to each dealer's website and build a car. So you're eventually going to pick a car, and you're going to have to pay the car note. And so I have information here for you to go ahead and enter in how much loan you're going to have to pay. Then when you have a car, and again, for the purpose of the project, I want you to see what a car note is, and you can't be using your current car. So you're going to buy a car for yourself, whether it's new or used. Then you're going to have to pay for gas, and that you kind of just go through, and you're going to take your car's miles per gallon average from above and then kind of put it through here, and I try to make it as streamlined as possible for you to go through. You have to pay car insurance if you have a car, so you're going to want to enter that in as well. Then you're going to make some relatively quick decision after that. Cell phone, how much that's going to cost. Again, you're going to have to go out on your own on this. Then food. So go ahead and go on to either Mariano's, Walmart, or Target, or wherever you want to go to shop for groceries. There's so many options now, whereas 10 years ago when I started this project, there's only Peapod. So use some sort of website to shop for groceries. You're going to buy 1 week's worth of food, multiply that number by 4. So this total cost for food should be more than $100 for sure. But whatever that 1 week is, there's 4 weeks in a month. And so since we are going month by month, this is what you're going to want to enter in. Then from there, it's some relatively quick choices with, you're going to have television, pick one of those options. Sorry, but that's the limit of those options. You're going to have internet services. You have to pick that option. If you're going to eat out at restaurants, if you're going to go out for social during the week, how many people do you buy gifts for? Buying clothing, how much it's going to cost. Trying to keep some contingency and savings money. So then on day 2, you're going to enter the information for your expenditures onto the form for that day 2. Your income is based on the first part after you paid taxes, and then divided by 12 to get your monthly cost. Then what a large portion of your grade is basically going to be is your summary question answers. So that's down at the bottom, and then you'll type that into the Google form. So what you're going to be required on day 2 is to put in all of your choices, all of your expenditures, and I'll kind of check those to make sure they make sense, and then fill in the summary questions. So because this takes a while, it's going to be worth 50 points, and I am going to be really looking for details and well thought out explanations for these as I read through and grade them, because that 50 points has to come from somewhere. So this really becomes evidence that you have completed it thoughtfully, the budget project. So rather than checking each page, this is where it'll come out like, hey, I looked at this car and I always wanted one of these, and then I saw how much it was going to cost me and I realized, well, that's not going to work. Or, hey, living in Seattle is really cheap, or living in, San Francisco or living in LA is really expensive. I didn't realize that. Living downtown Chicago is relatively doable. Those are the kind of thoughts that I want to kind of come up here. So I think that's about it. Sorry this video was longer than I intended, but at least it kind of outlines the what I'm looking for.